Things have started falling apart in this continent. Corrupt leaders across the continent are shaking in their boots in serious panic because this is the very first time in recent years and in the entire contemporary history of post-colonial. African youth are arising, but wait, who is disabling Africa? Foreign powers? It's not just the foreign powers, it's the leaders who fail to stand up to them, who allow themselves to be manipulated and controlled. It's the institutions that are too weak or too corrupt to defend the interests of the people. And it's the mindset that tells us we are not enough, that we cannot achieve greatness without the approval and assistance of others. No country without conflict, right? Now imagine, if you will, the scene. It's 2011, and 6 African presidents who were mandated by the African Union to resolve the Libyan internal conflict were ordered to turn back mid-air. These leaders, carrying the hopes of an entire continent on their shoulders, are suddenly ordered to turn back by NATO. NATO, an entity far removed from Africa's soil, dictates that their plane will not be allowed to land in Tripoli. President Museveni of Uganda later recounts.
In the end, we made peace with Gaddafi. And he had his issues, he had his ideas. Sometimes we would agree with him, sometimes we would not agree with him. Now, when this problem of Libya started, the African Union, with our chairman, who is here now, this gentleman here, they formed a committee of a few of us. I think we were 6. I was one of them. The whole of the African Union gave that committee a mandate to look for a solution for the Libyan problem. Now, on one occasion, I didn't go that time. These excellencies, this one here, Jacob Zuma, and the others, I was not there, but my minister was among them. They entered a plane in Nouakchott in his place. They were going to Libya to mediate. And they were told by NATO to go back. Yes. He said, you go back. Yes. You see? If I'm telling lies, I'm not the one who invited him, you're the one who invited him. African presidents on an African mission over African soil were ordered by NATO to go back. But NATO has not allowed them to land in Libya. Now, we call this in Swahili, dharau. Contempt. This contempt. So now you can weigh yourselves now. Your presidents were ordered by NATO. 6 of them, not one. If it was only 7, maybe you could say. Six excellencies, African excellencies, were ordered, go back. Over Africa. Now, these fellows didn't listen to us. They continued. They killed Gaddafi. Now Libya is in tatters. Up to today. And the problem did not only end in Libya. It went into Mali. It has gone now into Chad. The whole area is in flames. Egypt. Yeah. So now you see where you are. You were weak. Because of your weakness, you are colonized. Fortunately, we survived. And by a combination of factors, we got our freedom again. But we did not use our freedom to make ourselves stronger. We remained where we were. And now, the former colonists are coming back to continue where they had left off.
They did not allow our plane to touch down in Tripoli. Can you feel the weight of that moment? The sheer audacity of it? It's been 13 years since the fall of Libya, and one must ask, has the country improved post-Gaddafi? Is this the freedom and progress that was promised? But here's the bitter truth. The oppressor will never voluntarily hand over freedom and progress to the oppressed on a silver platter. They have no interest in seeing Africa rise, develop, and compete on equal terms. They thrive on Africa disunity, on the cracks in our leadership, and regrettably, some of Africa leaders play into their hands, whether knowingly or unknowingly, perpetuating this cycle of oppression. And this moment in 2011 was a stark reminder of that. It was more than just a plane being turned away. It was a symbolic castration of African resolve, a clear message that the powers that be had no intention of letting Africa determine its own fate. Of course, this incident also lays bare the harsh reality that the African Union, the supposed shield and voice of the continent, is little more than a toothless bulldog. What use is this union if it cannot protect the sovereignty and dignity of its member states? Gaddafi, for all his flaws, single-handedly funded the AU's startup, envisioning it as a bulwark against external domination. Yet, with his downfall, orchestrated and cheered on by NATO, the AU's impotence was laid bare. It seems that NATO achieved its aim, not just in removing Gaddafi, but in weakening the AU to the point of irrelevance. This brings us to a crucial question. Who is truly disabling Africa? Is it the external forces that have always sought to control and exploit our resources? Or is it us, our leaders, our institutions, our people, who have allowed ourselves to be internally disabled, own course without interference? If Africans don't recognize the forces at play, both external and internal, then Africa is indeed complicit in its own downfall. The colonial mindset, deeply ingrained in our politics, our economies, and even in the minds of our people, must be completely eradicated. We cannot continue to allow our progress to be dictated by those who have no interest in our success. The events of 2011 are not just a distant memory. They are a stark warning. They show us what happens when we allow ourselves to be divided and controlled by outside interests. The turning away of those African presidents was not just a diplomatic slight. It was a powerful demonstration of how little respect Africa commands on the global stage. And why is that? Because too often, our leaders have been willing to play along, to be the pawns in a game that is rigged against us. Out of 54 Africa countries today, as we watch countries like Burkina Faso, under IbrahimTraoré, Mali and Niger take bold steps to reclaim their sovereignty, we must ask ourselves, what would Africa look like if more of our leaders had the courage to say no to foreign control, to reject the exploitative relationships that have kept the continent in chains? Imagine a united Africa, where the AU isn't a toothless bulldog, but a roaring lion, defending the interests of its people with real power and conviction. Imagine a continent where decisions about our future are made not in foreign capitals, but right here at home. But this is not just about dreaming. It's about action. The colonial mindset is still alive and well, lurking in the corridors of power across Africa. It manifests in the decisions of leaders who prioritize their personal gain over the well-being of their people. It's seen in the willingness to accept foreign aid with strings attached, to allow our resources to be plundered while our people live in poverty. It's reflected in the constant reliance on external validation, on the belief that we cannot succeed without the help of those who have historically oppressed us. But there is hope. The tide is turning. In places like Burkina Faso and Niger, we see a new generation of leaders who are breaking free from the old ways, who are determined to build a future that is truly African in its vision and execution. These leaders are showing us that it is possible for Africa to take control of its own destiny, to stand up to the forces that seek to keep us down. You will be surplused to hear this. Niger Republic, a land rich in resources, yet plagued by poverty. This is a country that should be a beacon of prosperity, with its vast uranium reserves, oil, and agricultural bounty. But for years, Niger was shackled by the chains of foreign exploitation, its wealth siphoned off by former colonial masters while its people were left to suffer. How does a nation so rich in resources become one of the poorest in the world? And more importantly, how does it break free from the chains of exploitation? In August 2023, the people of Niger made a bold move that shocked the world. They decided they had had enough. Enough of foreign control, enough of their resources being plundered, enough of their destiny being dictated by others. They kicked out France, the US, and Germany, reclaiming their sovereignty and their wealth. Now, for the first time in decades, Niger determines the price of its own uranium, its own oil, and its own future. The transformation has been nothing short of revolutionary. Shockingly, this remarkable resurgence, according to the IMF's World Economic Outlook for April 2024, Niger is not only the fastest growing economy in Africa, but the third fastest growing economy in the world. This is a nation that, just a year ago, was considered the poorest on earth. What changed? What lessons can other African countries learn from Niger's dramatic turnaround? And what does this mean for the future of the continent? Niger's resurgence is not happening in isolation. Across the Sahel region, a new sense of unity and purpose is taking shape. The creation of the National Commission of the Confederation of Sahel States, CNAES, marks a significant shift in the geopolitical landscape of Africa. This confederation, chaired by Mali's Assimi Goïta and coordinated by Burkina Faso's Captain IbrahimTraoré, is a direct challenge to the status quo. They've made it clear. They will not return to ECOWAS unless the organization is purged of foreign influence. This is not just a political statement. It's a declaration of independence for the entire Sahel region. What does this mean for the future of African unity? Could this be the beginning of a new, more self-reliant Africa, free from the shadows of its colonial past? As we turn our focus to Burkina Faso, we see a nation that is rapidly becoming a model for the rest of Africa. Under the leadership of IbrahimTraoré, Burkina Faso is transforming itself in ways that few could have imagined. Waste management might not seem like the most glamorous of topics, but it is crucial to the health and well-being of any society. Traoré understands this, and he's taking action. In August 2024, the Minister of Urban Planning and Housing handed over a batch of waste management equipment to the municipality of Ouagadougou. This is the second delivery in just 2 years, a clear sign of Traoré's commitment to improving the quality of life for his people. Why aren't more African leaders focusing on these critical but often overlooked issues? How many cities across the continent could benefit from this kind of attention to detail? But Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso goes far beyond waste management. He understands that true development requires innovation and self-sufficiency. That's why he's prioritizing the training of engineers and the creation of local industries. In a speech that left many cheering, Traoré announced his plan to reduce Burkina Faso's reliance on foreign imports by developing local expertise and manufacturing capabilities. He's not just talking, he's taking concrete steps to make this a reality. He's cutting taxes for small businesses, reorganizing state funds to support local entrepreneurs, and pushing for the creation of more industries within Burkina Faso. What would Africa look like if more leaders took this approach? If instead of importing expertise, they cultivated it at home? Meanwhile, the Confederation of Sahel States is also making strides in regional cooperation. The CNAES under the authority of President Traoré, is responsible for coordinating and monitoring the activities of the AES Confederation. This body is tasked with implementing the decisions of the College of Heads of State and preparing for future meetings. But its role goes beyond mere administration. The CNAES is also responsible for promoting awareness among the population about the objectives of the Confederation. This is not just about political maneuvering, it's about building a new sense of identity and purpose for the people of the Sahel region. As Burkina Faso continues to develop its waste management infrastructure, it's also setting its sights on even bigger goals. Traoré has made it clear that he's not interested in following the path of other African leaders who waste resources on luxury vehicles and foreign trips. Instead, he's focused on what really matters: building a nation that can stand on its own. He's rejected the luxury SUVs that have become symbols of corruption in so many African governments. Instead, he's channeling resources into projects that benefit the people. He's not interested in the trappings of power. He's interested in results. How different would Africa be if more leaders had this kind of dedication, if they put the needs of their people above their own comfort? But Traoré's vision, again, doesn't stop there. He's also focused on the strategic importance of local manufacturing and production. In his recent speeches, he emphasized the need for Burkina Faso to produce more of what it consumes. This is not just about economic independence, it's about national pride. Traoré is determined to reduce Burkina Faso's dependence on foreign goods, and he's taking concrete steps to make this happen. He's reorganizing state companies to ensure they are more efficient and effective, and he's setting up new industries to transform raw materials into finished products. How much stronger would the continent be if it relied less on imports and more on its own resources? And then there's the issue of education. Traoré recognizes that the future of Burkina Faso, and indeed all of Africa, depends on the skills of its people. That's why he's restructuring the education system to prioritize engineering and vocational training. He's turning the Polytechnic School of Ouagadougou into a full-fledged university, focused on producing the engineers and technicians who will build the nation's future. This isn't just about creating jobs. It's about creating a sustainable economy that can stand on its own. How many other African countries are still stuck in outdated education systems, churning out graduates with degrees that don't match the needs of their economies? What if they followed Burkina Faso's lead and invested in the training that would truly drive development? So, dear patriots, I ask you again, what is your government doing differently in 2024? Are they following the example of leaders like IbrahimTraoré, who prioritize the welfare of their people over personal gain? Or is it business as usual, with the same old practices that have kept Africa from reaching its full potential? The time for change is now. The question is, will other African leaders rise to the challenge, or will they continue to fall short? The future of Africa depends on the choices they make today. What will those choices be?
If you are still not following us, you are probably never going to see us again. But if you are, congrats. You are on a journey of discovery as we unlock the mysteries of the past.